Trends in occupational therapy, OT for refugees and asylum seekers. Refugees across the world are an ever-growing population, including in the United States, with a recent estimate putting the world refugee population at 25.4 million persons. By the end of 2020, the number of forcibly displaced persons rose to over 82.4 million, over 35 million of which were under the age of 18. As a person who is unable or unwilling to return to his/her country of nationality because of a fear of persecution, refugees are faced with many challenges across multiple areas of occupations. Themes pertaining to the needs of refugees were identified as the following: occupational deprivation, barriers, and impact on well-being. We see an emergent interest in evidence-based practice interventions, which can have a significant impact on occupational therapy practice, serving this historically under-researched, non-traditional population relocated to the U.S. and other host countries. Refugees face numerous barriers to accessing healthcare, including occupational therapy. As a result, child refugees are especially vulnerable to developing dysfunctional coping skills, which leads to a poor quality of life. I reviewed 2 studies that use different treatment intervention for this population. The first one was using a holistic person-centered framework, and the second one, mindfulness-based interventions. These strategies were used with refugee children. The study suggests using mindfulness-based interventions to support positive coping skills in refugee children. Participants identify behavioral, emotional, and other cognitive challenges that impact their child's participation. Finances, environmental constraints, stigma, and timing were among the reported barriers to services. Overall, participants felt positive about mindful-based interventions and their effect on their child's well-being. By considering caregiver responses, further research is needed toward transcending barriers and implementing mindful-based intervention programs in the community and for caregivers carry over to the home setting. Overall, this study obtained foundational knowledge that is crucial in understanding the role of occupational therapy in implementing accessible mental health programs for refugees. It is considered that when youth who are forcibly displaced, they experience prolonged periods of occupational apartheid, deprivation, and imbalance, which often continues even after resettlement. Scholarship in OT examining the habituation and meaningful occupations of refugees, especially in youth, is limited, despite practitioners encountering this population in various settings. So the other study, which looked at the benefits of employing a person-centered evaluation framework with refugee youth, findings may inform practitioners working with this population about barriers that negatively impact participation in meaningful occupations. The results provide insights into cultural considerations OT should take when evaluating and intervening with refugees. The results demonstrate the importance of ensuring occupational therapy is person-centered and approached holistically, despite language and/or cultural differences. As the number of those forcibly displaced continues to rise, the OT community needs to continue to respond to the significant occupational deprivation, role loss, and barriers to occupational participation that this population faces. Occupational therapy and occupational science can help illuminate the value of occupation for those who are forcibly displaced. Some questions I would like to pose are the following. What treatment model do you think would work well for this population? What setting would work best for an OT intervention? Who do you imagine would be your team members in that setting? How would you overcome potential language barriers? Thank you so much for listening to my presentation.